Hello everyone, welcome to the lecture on intrapreneurship. So in this lecture we are going to study what is the meaning of intrapreneurship. So after studying meaning we will discuss the process and we will study the difference between intrapreneurship and entrepreneurship, right? So after studying this we will discuss the process and at last we will discuss what are the problems that is faced during the intrapreneurship. So let's start our lecture with the meaning of intrapreneurship. So if we talk about what is entrepreneurship, basically it is written here that an entrepreneurship is a phenomenon of empowering the employees within the organization, right, by valuing their ideas and converting them into a profit making model for the business. So basically an entrepreneur is the person who is from the business, who is from the industry, right, who is from the current organization, right. The person brings innovation, new innovative thing, right, and after when he brings innovation he also creates a sense of ownership, right. So along with innovation he brings the sense of ownership within existing organization. So a person who is an intrapreneur, the person is from the within the organization, he uses the company's resources, to transform the innovative ideas, right. So that innovative idea will become a profitable venture for the company, and that venture is must align with the company's vision and objective. So basically an entrepreneur is a person who is the employee of the organization, who brings a new idea and he wants the ownership of it, and he uses the company's resources to make it a profitable one, right. So basically now the question arises, who will bear the risk, right. So it is the organization, the company of which the employee is the part would bear all the associated risk if the project failed, right. So basically if we simply talk about entrepreneurship, it is the combination of employee responsibilities, employer responsibilities plus his entrepreneurship skills and sense of ownership that creates an entrepreneur, right. So an entrepreneur is the employee who takes an opportunity, who grabs the opportunity, who develops an idea related to it and take it to the next level for the betterment of the organization. So this is the process of entrepreneurship. So now afterwards we will look after the difference between intra and entrepreneurship. So now we will look after the difference between the entrepreneurship and the intrapreneurship, right? So basically we think that it is the same. No, this is not the same. There is a gap between the intrapreneurship and the entrepreneurship. So the first difference is the leadership, right? So under the entrepreneurship, an entrepreneur is the person who is the leader of the project and of the team, and he is the leader of all the organization, right. But if we talk about the in case of entrepreneurship, so he is under this major leader, right. He is the person who brings an idea but he uses the resources of the organization, right. He uses the resources of someone else, right. So he is the team leader who is dependent on some other organization for the resources. So entrepreneurship leader is the major one and the intrapreneurship is the minor one who is just leading a project, right. So this is the major difference between the leadership quality in intrapreneurship and the entrepreneurship. Moving on to the next difference, next is the motivation, right? So you know that it is the motivation who creates an urge, who creates a zeal among the people to work more, right? Without motivation and ambition, nothing could work. Nothing, the project cannot be a successful one if you don't have motivation, right? So for an entrepreneur, the main motivation is money, prestige, right, and accomplishing a goal that will survive for a long term, right? But if you compare it as an for intrapreneur, basically he want financial stability, right? He want to earn money, right? He want prominence in the organization, right? He is doing something, he is doing these kind of work with the motto of learning, right? Gaining some new things, right? So this is the main difference between the motivation of an entrepreneur and the intrapreneur. Moving on to the further points. So the next difference is the degree of risk, right? So we know that intrapreneur uses the resources of organization of which he is a part, for which he is working, right? So if he using the resources of other, means there will be less risk, right? But as compared to the entrepreneur, he's an independent businessman, right? So he has to bear all the risk of the business, right? So in the case of entrepreneur, the risk degree of risk is less as compared to the entrepreneur, right? Next is capital raising, right? So entrepreneur who is starting his own business, he is personally responsible for necessary capital, right? If he wants to start up his organization, he has to collect his his own funds, right? So an entrepreneur has to raise his own funds, but in case of intrapreneur, he does not have to raise funds because he is using the resources of the organization. He is using all the resources that are provided by the entrepreneur or the employer, right? So this is the major difference between the capital raising. So if we talk about intrapreneur and entrepreneur, basically intrapreneur is a person who is the main, right? And intrapreneur is a person who is working under entrepreneurs. For example, X is